Hey folks, Dave Brown here with the New Populace. Thank you again for joining me. So yesterday we had Special Counsel Jack Smith announce these new charges against Donald Trump for the events on January 6th and surrounding January 6th, the election. And as I said in my previous videos, and this was fairly obvious, it didn't take a genius to figure this out, but these charges were inevitable. The deep state will do anything to take out Donald Trump, and not just take him out, but send that message to any other person who thinks about challenging the establishment that if they step up, they will be knocked down. And they're doing a pretty good job of it, aren't they? They're really pulling out all the stops and disregarding every single norm that we've ever had. Now, one thing that's really annoying to me is that I've heard some prominent conservatives on TV and radio talking about the weakness and the lack of effectiveness of the Republican Party, specifically the leaders in Congress. And they're saying that Mitch McConnell and others, they're just so weak, they're so incompetent, they're sitting on their hands, they're too scared to do anything, and by God, we need some strong Republicans there to fight back against the Democrats and fight back against this corruption from the Biden administration. And I'm just shaking my head. Incompetence? They're scared? Don't you get it yet? It's not incompetence. They're not scared. They are complicit. Mitch McConnell is doing handstands right now that Donald Trump has been indicted by Jack Smith. At some point, he might make a statement saying that, these charges seem political and, I'm not sure about this for our country and this might be not a good thing. But deep down, behind the scenes, he is very happy with this. And all of these political prosecutions of Trump could not happen if the Republican Party, the leadership, truly were against this and wanted to stop it. They could. There's leverage. There's a game they play where they can do things, but they're not doing them. As I've mentioned in other videos, Nord Stream, for example. We blew up Nord Stream, and if that's true, we are guilty, or the Biden administration is guilty of committing an international act of terrorism against civilian infrastructure. Has anybody in Congress said anything about this as far as having hearings, subpoenaing people? Nope, they ain't going to do it. We have the Biden family, the corruption with Hunter Biden and Ukraine. Now, they're saying that they're slowly working through this to eventually get to a place where they might have impeachment hearings, but what are you waiting for? What do you need to see? I mean, it's so obvious at this point that the Biden family is absolutely corrupt. But they're Republicans, so they drag their feet and they're just a little clumsy. Or they're complicit and they're useless pieces of crap. And that's what I'm leaning toward. Now, people often talk about, how a country slips into tyranny, and they point to this, for example, the Nazis in Germany, and they say, well, the Nazis were a minority party. They were never a majority, and they were somehow able to capture the country and sort of force the entire country to march in that one direction. And there is truth to that. You can have a small but very, very tough group of people sort of impose their will on a nation and drive that nation into tyranny and ruin. But you also have situations where a country has a sizable part of that population, maybe even a majority, who support things that are corrupt and totalitarian. Walk through New York right now, or LA, or Washington, D.C., or Chicago. Go to a blue state and ask your average Democrat if they support these charges against Trump. I guarantee you 95% of them will say yes. So if you're wondering how a country slips into totalitarianism, well, sometimes it happens because you have a very sizable part of your population who was open to it. Or they think what they're supporting is just because they're so foolish and they've been so duped by the media, by the propaganda, that they truly believe that Donald Trump is Hitler and Mussolini, Pol Pot, and Mao, all rolled into one, and that if he were to be elected president again, it would be the end of the United States. But of course, we all know that's just nonsense. Now, what has been the response from the Republican presidential candidates to these indictments? And I find this interesting because it tells you who these people really are. So let's go through them. First, we have Ron DeSantis, and he says this on Twitter: "As president, I will end the weaponization of government, replace the FBI director, and ensure a single standard of justice for all Americans. While I've seen reports, I have not read the indictment. I do, though, believe we need to enact reform so that Americans have the right to remove cases from Washington, D.C. to their home districts. Washington, D.C. is a swamp, and it is unfair to have to stand trial before a jury that is reflective of the swamp's mentality, or the swamp mentality. One of the reasons our country is in decline is the politicization of the rule of law. No more excuses. I will end the weaponization of the federal government." Now, I'm from the D.C. area. If you're not aware, in Washington, D.C., they vote about 90% to 10% Democrat. 90% to 10%, 9 to 1. So if you're in D.C. Having a trial and you're a Republican, good luck to you. And if it's the opposite, you might just get off. We had that case of the lawyer who lied on the FISA warrants, and he got off. We had the Clinton lawyer get off as well. So if you're a Democrat, you can get off in D.C. They'll let you go. You're a Republican, you jaywalk, you litter, you're finished. You're going to federal prison. So he is right that we have a city that is so one-sided. Yeah, that's the seat of our government. And if we have any trial here for a Republican, they're screwed. So if Trump goes to trial in D.C., he will 1,000% be convicted. And you have to wonder what that says about our justice system if people can't get a fair trial. And that's very scary. Now, one thing he also says here is that he never read the reports. Well, Ron, you're a lawyer. Maybe you should go ahead and read the report. It's like 45 pages long, and that was the first response on Twitter. This guy says, "Wait, you're a lawyer running for president, and you couldn't take a minute to read the docs, despite wanting to grift off this. And D.C. is such a swamp, you held fundraisers there last month in the law offices of Dominion Voting System lawyers. You're bleeping gross, dude." A little tough there, but I think he makes a good point. Read the indictment, and the issue with the swamp is Ron DeSantis going to fight back against the swamp? I don't know. I don't fully trust him. I know people like DeSantis, and they think he's a good alternative to Trump. And he may be, but his campaign the last several weeks has been less than impressive. And if he's doing so bad right now campaigning, I can't imagine him in a general election campaign going to swing states and actually convincing people to vote for him. And that's the argument, that he will win over voters in swing states. But Christ, if he's running such a bad campaign now, what confidence should I have that he'll run a better one a year from now? So I like to see more from Ron. And again, it's disappointing because we all thought that if Trump didn't run or couldn't run, that Ron would be the guy, and I'm not really seeing that. Who's next? Oh, Vivek. Here's what Vivek said. The corrupt federal police just won't stop until they achieve their mission, eliminate Trump. This is un-American, and I commit to pardoning Trump for this indictment. Donald Trump isn't the cause of what happened on January 6th. The real cause was systemic and pervasive censorship of citizens in the year leading up to it. If you tell people they can't speak, that's when they scream. If you tell people they can't scream, that's when they tear things down. If we fail to admit the truth, January 6th will just be a preview of far worse to come, and I don't want to see us get there. And he's right. What is happening is un-American, and January 6th was frustration from people who felt that what happened as far as the election that year was really just rotten. And we don't have to go back and go over every detail, but the change in the voting system, the mail-in voting, we had secretaries of states unilaterally change voting laws, which is, in my opinion, unconstitutional. It was really, really, it didn't feel right. On election night, Trump had this huge lead. We went to bed thinking, okay, Trump got reelected. And then the next day, all those mail-in voting ballots came in and, switched the results. So we felt something was off, and that's why people were angry on January 6th. So he's right about that. Who's next? Mike Pence. Today's indictment serves as an important reminder. Anyone who puts himself over the Constitution should never be president of the United States. And boy, we really got this wrong with Mike Pence. When he was running back in 2016 with Trump, we thought, hey, not a bad guy. As it turns out, Mike Pence seems to be a gigantic, steaming pile of shit. He's been exposed. His interview with Tucker Carlson, talking about the Ukraine war and the jailing of a Russian priest. He had a terrible answer. That guy, boy, we got it wrong, and I can't stand him. So why he's running for president, I have no clue, because he has zero shot. He's been exposed. And then we have Nikki Haley. She hasn't responded directly yet to what happened, but she's been saying, we have to move beyond Trump because we don't want to be talking about indictments. Let's, move on and leave this behind us. And what I've said about Haley is that she's very slick, and she's tries to straddle, the line there where she's, reaching out to Trump voters, but at the same time not pissing off the establishment. And so whatever she says here, it's garbage. Who cares? And back when she was interviewing with Tucker Carlson, she was asked about Nord Stream. What did she do? She feigned ignorance, didn't answer the question, and start talking about Hunter Biden. So anytime she's in a position to answer a really tough question, she deflects and hides. That's not a leader. That's not a tough person. That's somebody who is going to eventually, if they get the opportunity to be president, do what the establishment wants. I don't trust her at all. And, luckily she has very little traction. And again, why is she running for president? I have no clue, because she will not be president. And then we have Tim Scott. He says, I remain concerned about the weaponization of Biden's DOJ and its immense power used against political opponents. What we see today are two different tracks of justice, one for political opponents and another for the son of the current president. True, that's exactly what's going on here. There are two different systems of justice, and apparently the Bidens can do whatever they want, and they're going after Trump. So I'm okay with that statement. Am I a huge fan of Scott? I think he's a nice man, but ultimately, deep down, I think he's establishment. Certainly when it comes to the military-industrial complex and the Ukraine war. I didn't do a video on his response to Tucker Carlson about the Ukraine war, but he essentially just started just mumbo-jumbo. His answer was nonsensical and ridiculous, and it was, I listened to him going, what the heck is he talking about? I don't know. So he was dissembling. So definitely he participates with the, or is in league with the military-industrial complex, but he comes out as a very nice man, which is the appeal that people have for him. And the last person is Chris Christie, but who really cares what Chris Christie has to say? So let's skip Chris Christie. So those are what the different presidential candidates said about this indictment. Again, the Republican Party, they're not just weak, they're not just ineffectual. Many of them are complicit, and that is the main problem. And not to be dramatic, but if this stands, if the Republican Party allows Trump to be dragged down by this corrupt DOJ, by Jack Smith, by Merrick Garland, if they stand by and let it happen, it's going to make my support for Republicans in the future in question. I'm thinking this happens, It's time to change my registration from Republican to Independent and do what some of my friends do every election, which is vote for the third party candidate, the Libertarian, and just call it a day. There's no point in supporting a Republican Party who will let this happen. I'd rather have a one-party Democrat system where I know what it is rather than have a two-party system where I'm being fooled and misled constantly by a party who claims to be on my side. I don't want to deal with that. So reach out to your Republican congressmen, your senators, your people in the House, your representatives. Let them know if this stands. Maybe we walk away and the Republican Party becomes, dysfunctional and gone and irrelevant. That might need to happen long term if we're going to actually, push back against this deep state, this establishment. So let them know. You play ball with this, we're finished with you. And go ahead and we'll sit out. We'll vote their party, and we'll let you guys become irrelevant. So, Republican Party, you've been warned. We're watching, and unfortunately, I'm not too confident in what's going to happen. I don't have very much faith in you guys, for very good reasons. Most of you guys absolutely suck. Well, that's it for now. If you are new to my channel, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.